This is Hino's Sport, bringing you that heat and that fire. Hear me and hear me well. Errol the True Spence is going to what? Bulldoze Shawn Constipated Porter part what? 92. Let's get it in, folks. Okay. As you guys know, part 92 and part 93. If you didn't know, now you know. Let me say it again. If you didn't know, now you know. It's going to be about Fight Camp part 3. What did we see in Fight Camp Part 3? This is what I was talking about. You got a bunch of classic dopes and troglodytes, right? They're sitting here and they're telling you, oh, Errol the True Spence is not going to bulldoze Shawn Constipated Porter. You know what I'm saying? Errol the True Spence is going to have a unanimous decision. Errol the True Spence is going to have a split decision. Okay, you classic dopes and you troglodytes. Did you guys not see the miscommunication between Kenny Porter and Shawn Porter? Let me say it again, because this needs to marinate in the corpus callosum and in the cerebellum. Hear me? And hear me well. Did you guys not see the miscommunication or the disconnect between Kenny Porter and Shawn Porter? We are 6 days out until the fight. And the way Kenny Porter was yelling at Shawn Porter is as if we were looking at amateur hour at the Apollo. Let me say it again. It's as if we were looking at amateur hour at the Apollo, or we were looking at the amateurs. Kenny Porter said some truth-telling stuff there about him and his son. He exposed him, actually. And see, all of these people that say, oh, all you have to do is film study. Here's the problem. When you only just do film study, right? Like we talked about in the live stream yesterday, you're only looking at things from one side of the aisle. You have to look at the whole finite details. When you're in boxing 303 lane, this is what people that reside in this realm, right? This is what the three-dimensional thinkers do. They look at all of the finite details. They look at the attitudes between the trainer and the fighter. They look at the fighter's mindset. All of these things are important. They look at the fighter's temperature to see if he's going to continue to keep that same energy. Let me say it again. Continue to keep that same energy. And then they look at the totality of the buildup going into the fight. And then you factor in film study on top of that. But if you just look at film study and you don't do what I do, which is film study and all of these other things, then you have an issue. So this is why I always say, and the prediction king strikes again, because I almost always get my predictions right, because I look at the totality of things. And I'm stating the most commonest sense and stating the most obvious. If you look at Fight Camp Part 3, what was the most obvious there? Kenny Porter was yelling at Shawn Constipated Porter. Shawn Constipated Porter kept saying, yes, sir, yes, sir. And he's like, don't fucking tell me yes, sir. He said, you ain't been following the shit that I told you a week ago, 2 weeks ago, even 2 months ago, and even longer than that. What he was doing is he was shedding truth and light, cold-hearted, unadulterated, cutthroat truths that Shawn Constipated Porter likes to do what he wants to do. In so much so that he even came out of his mouth and said, I tell this man something, and he has his own voice in his head, another voice in his head telling him to do something else. Did you guys not watch that sparring session? A southpaw was out jabbing his ass. Errol the True Spence is leagues and droves above this person that was sparring. This isn't sparring now. This is why I try to tell people, if you're doing film study, you need to be paying attention to this stuff too. You know me, I'm going to always throw the uppercut, because cats want to sit here and say, oh, well, this is all you have to do. No, only dodo heads do that. Only brain full of mush and brainwashed followers do that. Only classic dotes and troglodytes do that. You have to look at the totality of things. And if you're looking at films that you want to be looking at this stuff. First, he got exposed by David Benavidez. David Benavidez outboxed his ass in sparring. And what did the Porters do? In so much so that he got embarrassed, they took the shit down. Let me say it again. In so much so, what did they do? They took the shit down, folks. So that should tell you something. That should tell you a glaring deficiency. That the Porters don't want you to see something that is imminent. Now let's go a step further. Let's go right back into this Fight Camp Part 3. Because I implore you guys, I beseech you, brethren and sisterin, to watch this. Let me say it again. I implore you guys, I beseech you, brethren and sisterin, to watch this. I went biblical on you guys for a quick second. Hear me and hear me well. Kenny Porter got into the damn ring. I want you guys to go look at Barry Hunter's facial expression, Larry Wade's facial expression, like, oh, this motherfucker don't get it. Errol the True Spence gonna stop his ass. Because if you're sitting here 6 days out, and you're getting out jabbed in sparring, because this last week is supposed to fine tune everything else that you did. It's supposed to be the culmination. Because did you guys not hear Kenny Porter? He said at the beginning, oh, this is the headbangers gym. You know what I'm saying? So when we go in here, we bang heads. Let me say it again. This is the headbangers gym. So when we go in here, we bang heads. If that's the case, where's the headbanging? This is what I was trying to tell you guys when I said, and I believe it was part 90 or part 91. I think it was part 91, that Shawn's movements are going to move into Errol the True Spence fist. Let me say it again. Shawn's movements are going to move into Errol the True Spence fist. There's a reason for that, folks. It's because he's a constipated individual. When you're constipated in life, you're constipated in the ring. Let me say it again. When you're constipated in life, you are going to be constipated in the ring. The man can't box for shit. So when you hear all of these classic doses of these troglodytes saying unanimous decision and split decision, they're just giving you their haterisms and their trollisms on the fact that Errol the True Spence ain't the truth. They believe that there's lies behind that fence, that his fist. But you know, we kick that nonsense out of the door because that's ultra fanboy and with the ultra fanboy rhetoric. And we tell you guys that Errol the True Spence is the truth, and there is no lies behind his fist. These cats don't want to come to the conclusion or the realization that Errol the True Spence is actually the truth, and he's leagues and shoulders above the welterweight division, and which he is. They can't believe that there's another special fighter in another generation after the Mayweather era, hence Spence era. Remember, he knows his sport, like the logo. We coined the phrase Spence era. Let me say it again. He knows his sport, like the logo. We coined the phrase Spence era. I coined that. Just like I coin everything. I'm a trendsetter when it comes to verbiage, punchlines, words, you name it. Every wording that you probably hear nowadays is because he knows his sport. From the dome, like Jay-Z, I'm one take. You know what I'm saying? I've invented that verbiage, and then people run with it. But if you look at the fight camp, you see what I'm talking about, man. 6 days out. Now, all of these people that are saying unanimous decision or split decision, this should be a glaring deficiency for you guys. This should be like a, what we say, coming to the light moment. You know how when people have a coming to the light moment in their lives? That's what you need to have here. Because why is Kenny Porter yelling at this kid? And he's saying, don't give me that yes sir bullshit. You ain't listened to me a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago. What he's basically saying is that this is not the first time that this has happened. Meaning, Shawn Constipated Porter has had a tendency of listening to another voice in his head. You know what that voice is? It's constipated, dirty and nasty individual. That's who he is. It's his alter ego. That's who he listens to. He don't listen to his dad. Because what did I tell you about fighters? They go into a state of familiarity when all else fails. This is what's going to happen when he has to go and face the pressurized situation of Errol the True Spence. Let me say it again. When he has to face the pressurized situations of Errol the True Spence. What do you think Errol the True Spence and Kenny Porter are doing right now? They're fine-tuning the tactical aggression, the technical punching placement, and the body snatching work, the levying onslaught of the punishment style. They're perfecting that. Do you think that it's amateur hour over there in their gym? That they're sitting there and being at disconnect with one another, or they're being in unison? Let me say it again. You seriously think that they're being at disconnect with one another, or they're being in unison? But we just saw in Fight Camp Part 3 that Shawn Constipated Porter is disconnected. The main fighter is disconnected with the main trainer. Are you guys not hearing what I'm saying? Because what I'm saying should be a glaring light to you folks. The main fighter and the main trainer are at disconnect, folks. He's yelling at the man and telling the man to his face, Barry Hunter and Larry Wade, I'll need you guys to go look at their facial expressions. It speaks volumes. They already know right then and there that Shawn Constipated Porter is getting knocked out. And if you're running with this decision narrative, you're in one or two lanes here. You either been turncoat, and you've either allowed other of what we call the anti-bias, aka unbiased movement, aka ants movement, to mess your head up, to think that Errol the True Spence can no longer bulldoze, you know what I'm saying, because he's been bulldozing. So now it's going to be a decision. Are you serious? Did you guys not watch Fight Camp Part 3? Go watch it. And maybe you'll come to this light that, oh shit, this decision narrative that I'm running with is false. And then those who even come with the split decision, we already know it's Terrence Bud Crawford fanboy man crushes. Because that's what it is at its truest. It's truest in its most properest levels, folks. We just got to call it a buck here. We got to call a spade, keep that thing real, and call it 100. Because that's what we're dealing with here. bunch of haters and trolls that don't want to come to the conclusion that Errol the True Spence is going to bulldoze Shawn Constipated Porter. It's really that simple, folks. If you go back and look at Fight Camp Part 3, everything that you need to know is going to be the full culmination of events. I keeps the foot on the what? On the necks. I keeps the foot on the what? On the necks. And like the Tibetan Mastiff that I am, I apply what? Unlimited pressure. Because pressure does what? It busts his fucking pipes. This is He Knows the Sport. Checking out.